It's August 13th, 2025. It's just before 5 p.m. as I'm recording this update. In the briefing this morning, Premier Hogan said today's weather could make for challenging fire suppression efforts on both the Kingston fire, the Paddy's Pond fire, and additionally the Martin Lake fire, and that certainly has proved to be a very accurate statement. This is the view of the Kingston fire this afternoon, and this video was sent in by Jimmy Reed about a half hour ago, and it certainly looks to be a very bad situation. The fire has burnt down into Smooth Cove, into parts of Ochre Pit Cove, and will likely be pushed further north up the shore overnight and tomorrow. I do have some positive news though. This is the Paddy's Pond fire from a helicopter earlier today. Much different scene than yesterday, much less smoke, much less fire. Certainly a good and positive development there. Hopefully putting a lot of folks at ease. Now that being said, tomorrow could be a challenging day based on the wind forecast, and we still have these evacuation alert areas. The first I'm talking about right now is for St. John's, which is Southlands and Galway. The next is Paradise and Conception Bay South, those areas there in red, except the Three Island Pond area of Paradise, which is under a mandatory evacuation order right now. That has not changed to my knowledge at this point. This is the current perimeter of the Kingston fire that has certainly grown in size. I think is now closing in on 7,000 hectares in total size. And all those dots that you see there are basic hotspots that satellite data has picked up within the last 12 hours or so. So the fire is down into Smooth Cove, has not moved further north yet. I do know there's a fuel break between Smooth Cove and Northern Bay, and hopefully it does not advance much further, but tomorrow's wind forecast is from the south, which means it's going to push that fire north, and hopefully the fuel break, which I think they're working on from what I understand, holds. And I'll report on that tomorrow, and as I get information on it, as hopefully it's positive information as we go through the day tomorrow. This is the Martin Lake fire, and that too has grown more on the northeast side than anything else toward the Bay d'Espoir Highway. It does look like the Bay d'Espoir Highway is closed in Bishop's Falls, and then south of the fire coming up from the south coast. And that fire is putting off a lot of smoke today. You can see it right there in the photo. That picture comes to us from Marshall Gillard. Marshall, thank you very much for sharing that with us. When you see smoke like that, that's a fire burning very effectively. Satellite imagery showing that smoke plume is being pushed north, looks like east of Grand Falls, Windsor, and Bishop's Falls, but areas like Lewisport and Twillingate likely getting into some of that poor air quality, and parts of St. John's are likely seeing poor air quality as well from the fire burning in Paddy's Pond, but a lot less smoke today than yesterday. As we go over to the Avalon Peninsula, we have an increasing cloud, which means there's more moisture in the air. That's a good thing, likely helping at least reduce the potential of the Paddy's Pond fire kind of at least reigniting a little bit or getting a little bit harder to control than it is right now. But that fire in Kingston is burning very hot. We can see the smoke plume there going off toward the northeast. And as again, the wind direction is shifting to a more southerly one, that smoke will start to impact areas like Old Perlican and Greats Cove on the northern part of the Avalon overnight and into tomorrow. And tomorrow the wind is forecast to be more directly from the south. And again, that will act to push the fire to the north. If we can get through tomorrow, the weather on Friday and Saturday looks a little more favorable for hopefully the control and suppression of this fire. Now we look at the wider picture of the satellite imagery and we can see there's a lot of cloud cover moving into Labrador. That is a cold front. That's going to usher in an end to the heat in Labrador. That happens tomorrow into Friday, on the island Friday into Saturday. And while it is going to warm back up after Saturday, we're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 20s, not mid to upper 20s and 30s like we're seeing today. Now we're seeing an increase in moisture in the air over the island right now. That is a good thing, even though it's making it feel a lot more uncomfortable outside. The humidity in St. John's is up to 55% this afternoon. Wildfires like humidity at or below 30% to grow real effectively. So look at Badger and Gander between 35 and 40%, so much closer to that kind of effective range. Greats Cove up to 66%, St. John's 55%, and that should help things. Even though we're not getting rain, that moisture in the air will help make those dry fuels just a little less combustible. But it's also helping to make things feel more comfortable out there. 29 degrees in St. John's as of 5 o'clock, 31 in Gander, 32 in Badger. St. John's had its 5th day this year of over 30 degrees. The previous record for any year of temperatures over 30 degrees in St. John's was 2. So we've, more than doubled that. Feels like 36 right now in St. John's, 37 in Badger with the Humidex, 31 in St. Anthony, 37 in Corner Brook. Stephenville not reporting because the weather station at the airport currently does not appear to be functioning. It is scorchingly hot in Labrador this afternoon. 36 degrees in Cartwright and Goose Bay. That's without the Humidex. Humidex is 44 in Cartwright at the moment, and that may very well be a provincial record. Rodney Barney, a meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, tweeted or posted about that a little while ago. Heat warnings are still in effect for southeastern Labrador and much of Newfoundland, including on the northern peninsula east. For temperatures tonight near 16 degrees, back to the middle and upper 20s tomorrow, and then we get the cool down on Friday, although for some areas it's going to happen a little before then. So we take a look at future radar and clouds, some showers, some thunder showers working through parts of Labrador overnight. By tomorrow morning, those showers and storms around the Goose Bay area in the afternoon and evening, they're working their way toward the southeast coast. That's the front. We are going to see some significant rainfall over parts of western and southwestern Newfoundland. It looks like late tomorrow night into Friday morning. And then there's the chance of some heavy rain over the Avalon and eastern Newfoundland Friday evening into Saturday morning. Now, I'm not hanging my proverbial hat on this just yet, but the computer model that's putting this forecast out is showing significant rainfall on the Avalon as we move into Friday night and Saturday. 34 millimeters in St. John's. That would be extremely beneficial and really, really helpful with the fire situation. That being said, what the computer is doing is showing a very localized area of heavy rain. Notice Bay Roberts, Old Perlick, and Winterton only showing a couple millimeters. And so when you see something like that, it rings a bell to me that yes, the computer's showing rain, but it could be a shower, and showers are really hard to predict. Now, I'll keep a close eye on this. Hopefully it comes to fruition, but again, I'm not exactly hanging my hat on it right now with a whole lot of confidence. Temperature-wise, we're going to start to see that cool down in Labrador tonight and tomorrow, and that cooler air begins to work through much of Labrador during the day tomorrow. Notice by 3 o'clock, it's 15 degrees in Nain, 14 in Lab City, but still 20s in Cartwright, and these temperatures might be underdone a bit. Another day of mid to upper 20s on the island tomorrow. Some areas near 30, but it should not be as hot as today. And then we go into Friday, and Friday is going to be the day where the cool air begins to really make itself known for western Newfoundland first, eastern areas second later in the day, and then as we go into Saturday, we're looking at winds turning north, which is good, cool air, damp air going to move in. That sets us up for a cooler Saturday, mid-teens for eastern, northeastern Newfoundland, downright fall-like, and back to the 20s on Sunday. Now, that's not necessarily a great thing. We'd like to see maybe some more rain, maybe a longer stretch of cooler weather, but we're looking at low to mid-20s next week and not temperatures back to the middle and upper 20s like we've seen for the last week plus now. Into Labrador over the weekend, temperatures going to dip into the teens as well for the next couple of days, or excuse me, over the weekend. And next week, again, rebounding into the lower 20s. Now, next week, something to watch is going to be Hurricane Erin. There's a lot of information out right now. I'll have some info on that for you tomorrow. As of now, it's too soon to say if it's going to impact the weather in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's certainly possible. And to get my latest forecast and updates on that, you can be sure to get the app Sheer Weather in the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store. I will watch that closely. There are some indications that it could be close to us next week, but beyond that, it's hard to say if it's going to be a direct or indirect impact. Climate favors indirect rather than direct, but time will tell. We'll talk about that, plus more things tomorrow. And before then, on my social channels, and I'll have updates for you on the fire situation or situations as needed. As always, have a very good Wednesday evening and stay safe.